Welcome, everyone, to Truro Town Council's Public Council meeting for Monday, April 13th, 2026. Before we begin our agenda today, I, Kathy J. Henton, Mayor for the Town of Truro, acknowledge we are Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge the peace and friendship treaties and recognize we are all treaty people. We recognize African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have greatly enriched this part of Mi'kma'ki, known as Nova Scotia, over 400 years. We recognize the Acadians, who lived in harmony with the Mi'kmaq, whose communities across the province are a living testament to the fortitude of their ancestors who survived the Grand Arrangement. Today, as both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, we commit to seek harmonious and mutually beneficial relations. We give thanks to the elders and knowledge keepers. So now we're going to proceed with our public agenda today. This is a public council meeting for the Town of Truro for Monday, April 13th, 2026, and it is budget day. Councillor Pryor is under the weather today, and she is going to be joining us via Zoom. And if you've noticed outside, the flag is being hung at the Town Hall, as April is Autism Awareness Month. I want to say that we're glad that you're joining us today. And Mr. Dolter, are there any changes, admissions, and deletions to our agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
I also want to wish you a very happy birthday today.
Thank you.
So seeing no changes to the agenda for April 13th, 2026 is approved. Item 2A on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the Public Council meeting on March 2nd, 2026. The minutes were circulated. If there are no changes identified by council, are there any? If none, the minutes for the Public Council meeting for March the 2nd, 2026 are approved. Item number 3, petitions, delegations, and correspondence. Item 3A, Mr. Dolder, is a letter to MLA Ritzy, read the provincial funding for the Colchester East Hands Public Library, if you please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So there's 3 letters here I'm going to briefly touch on. I'm not going to read them in full because they do come from the town, but on the March 10th, 2026, we did send a letter to Minister Ritzy, reference the provincial funding for Colchester East Hands Library. And this was based on a conversation or direction from council, just talking about the vital role that libraries played, and with the announcements in that came forward in the 26-27 provincial budget. Obviously, there was some concern over library funding, and in fact, there were areas where library funding, particularly for bridge funding, had been cut. And again, in that letter, we identified our concern with that, and we asked through the letter that the province reconsider their funding and review the funding formula in order to strengthen the investment in libraries in general, particularly for the support for the employees that work at the libraries with the low wage level that most libraries are forced to pay because of limits in their funding. So again, that's just a letter that was sent on the 10th of March in order to reinforce our concerns for library funding and the futures of the libraries, and also to talk about what important role they played within the region.
And item 3B is a letter to Chief Glode.
Yes, again, this is Mayor issued a letter to Chief Glode congratulating him on his re-election as chief, and again, the lengthy period that he has been Chief Millbrook First Nation. And again, just looking forward to working with him going forward, and just the appreciation we have for the constructive and positive relationship that we have with Millbrook, and as we see that moving forward in this year and years to come. Again, as everyone knows, the Millbrook elections take place every second year. So again, Chief Glode's done well to continue leading his community.
And I had the opportunity to meet with him and told him that as well in person, and he was very appreciative of that, so that our good wishes were sent. And now we have item 3C, and that is a letter for the Mi'kma'ki DeBert Cultural Center.
Yeah, now I will read this to council again, because this is a request that actually just came in late last week, and just wanted to bring it to council's attention. So as the mayor has indicated, again, this is from the cultural center that's under development. So again, it says, it was our pleasure to see you and Councillor Deb, referring to Councillor Deb Pryor, at our funding announcement on March 17th. As highlighted that day, advancing, again, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, Mikowe, I think is DeBert.
Yeah.
Sorry? Mi'kma'ki, okay. So, Debert Cultural Centre, or the MDCC, will require collaboration across all levels of government, including support from the town of Truro. I'm writing to provide an update on the project and to invite closer collaboration with MDCC as MDCC moves into its next phase. Given Truro's proximity to Debert and its leadership role in the region, this is an initiative with clear shared benefits. Mi'kmaqaway Debert Cultural Centre is being developed on land that reflects more than 13,500 years of Mi'kmaq presence. Archaeological findings at Debert have uncovered thousands of artifacts that speak to life at the end of the last ice age, making this site unique in its capacity to tell these stories. The regional impact is also significant. Over its first 10 years, MDCC is projected to generate nearly $200 million in economic activity, support close to 1,000 person-years of employment, and attract approximately 67,000 visitors annually, strengthening tourism, economic opportunities throughout the area, including the hub of Nova Scotia. Site work is already underway with the driveway and utility corridor progressing and the building moving towards tender later this spring. We'll be working towards a late fall 2028 opening and have secured $38.6 million of our $48.7 million capital goal, nearly 80% of the required funding. To maintain momentum at this critical stage, we're respectfully requesting the town of Truro consider a contribution of $100,000 towards the development of the Mi'kmaqaway Debert Cultural Centre. And we welcome the opportunity to meet and discuss this further. And then he gives a number that he can be reached and the email address, and that's signed Tim Bernard, Executive Director, MDCC. So, Madam Mayor, from that letter, I guess what I would appreciate is direction from Council, whether or not Council would like to set up a meeting to discuss, or whether or not they want to have any further discussion on the matter today. Again, my recommendation would be to establish a meeting if that's Council's way.
I agree, and I was talking to Tim Bernard as well, and he's really aware of, with the budgets and everything of the cuts to some of our local things around Truro, so I made that very clear to him as well. So, Deputy Mayor.
I also would support going into discussion, concerning a grant.
Any further comments from Council about Councillor Graham?
Just wondering if it would be appropriate to invite them to Committee of the Whole to make a presentation and formally make their ask and give us the opportunity to ask questions. Would that be an appropriate path forward?
Yeah, that would be the appropriate stance, to have them come to a Committee of the Whole, and then based on Council direction, we could bring a decision to the Public Council meeting following that, if that's the way Council wanted to.
So would Council be, Councillor Talbot?
Yeah, I also agree with setting up a meeting to get a little more detail, but I'd also like to know what pot of money this would be coming out of if we take a decision to support it.
That's right. Did you want to comment on that?
I think there's alternatives here. Certainly, if Council were to decide, you could support the full amount, a portion of the amount, or you could phase the amount over a number of years as well too. Council's about to consider this year's budget. Again, I don't think Council under any obligation to contribute this year. It could be for the 27-28 fiscal year. Again, that's totally up to Council in how they want to handle it. So again, I don't think we're under any obligation to commit to anything until Council hears, and then you can make a decision on how you want to handle it.
Councillor Graham?
Is a motion required to invite them to come to Committee of the Whole?
No, I just need direction from Council that that's what they want to do, and we'll set that up for a Committee of the Whole meeting.
So, Council, is everyone in favor of inviting them to a Committee of the Whole so we can hear what they have to say, and then we'll proceed as we deem necessary? Is everyone in agreement with that? Okay, so that's good. So what we'll do is we'll have Stephanie reach out to them, ask them to come to Committee of the Whole, do a brief presentation, 15 minutes, and then we'll make the decision and see where we go from here. Okay, we're good with that? Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Dolter. Item 4 under old business. Item 4A is the RFD for the Central Nova Scotia Civic Centre Society repayable grant write-off. Mr. Dolter.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. So as council recall, the Central Nova Scotia Civic Centre Society was audited by Revenue Canada, the Canadian Revenue Agency, and ruled ineligible for funding received under COVID programs, requiring the payment of a $1.29 million payments that were made to them, which totaled $1.63 million after interest was accumulated on that amount. So in February 3rd of 2025, the public council meeting, Truro Council approved a repayable grant at the time for 50% of that portion. For us, that was $814,923. And that was payable to the society. The letter that went out to the society indicated that it would be forgiven if its revenue, if the Canadian Revenue Agency's notice of objection to the Canadian Revenue Agency, if the notice of objection actually failed, and it did fail, and the appeal was rejected. In fact, a second appeal was also turned back. So as the objection was unsuccessful, the council would now have to formally vote to forgive the loan and to write off the funds, or else we would have to ask for repayment of the loan. And again, the recommendation is actually to write that off. That was indicated in the original letter. However, the motion of council was simply to make the payment and not to actually, did not have an automatic write-off provision in the motion that was made. So that's why it's here today. So the proposed motion would be it resolved that the town of Truro forgive and write off the $814,923 repayable grant made to the Central Nova Scotia Civic Centre Society.
I'm looking for a mover. Councillor McGrath is seconder. Councillor Fleming. Discussion? Councillor Graham?
I was just wondering if there were legal costs involved with the two appeals, and was it the society that picked up the tab if there was, or is it the town and county?
The legal costs would actually be to the society, and they were, and in fact, at the time, we did clearly indicate that all legal costs would be for the societies to cover.
Great. Thank you for the clarification.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just with regard to the initial repayment versus the repayment with interest, it's an extra, by my math, $340,000. How many months did that sit before gathering interest? And I am not even sure if that's anything that we can share, but I'm curious about how many months that sat before.
Again, I wasn't privy to the original letter or the original decision that came through. Mm-hmm. It was over several months. I think it was 4 or 5 months again, but I stand to be corrected. I don't know the exact date it came in, but obviously, given the amount of interest that was there, it's deceiving, because if anybody's dealt with Revenue Canada, the interest rate is significant. It's very punitive. Mm-hmm. So again, but I do believe it was at least four months or more that before the board came to the municipalities asking for the loan to cover it, and unfortunately, the interest did accumulate.
Okay, and do we have any indication as to why those months passed before and the interest was accrued without being paid and addressed?
Nothing. No, I can't give a definitive explanation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I find it a little frustrating, and I'm sure others do as well, but I just want to voice my frustration that the Civic Centre, if it was not eligible for the funding, then why did Canada Revenue grant the money to begin with? You know, an application was made, they granted the money, and then they turn around and say you're not eligible, right? Yeah. There was clear criteria for this. They were aware of the criteria. When an application came in, they should have screened it and said you're not eligible, and then we wouldn't be in this position. So I look to them and say, not a well done job in regards to this situation at all. I'm quite disappointed in Revenue Canada for allowing us to get ourselves into this position. So just a statement. Yeah. I feel better saying it.
Okay. Yeah, and to be honest, it's indicative of what was going on at the time. I think, even for individuals, I think there was a lot of people that applied for COVID funding, got it, and then subsequently were audited and had to pay it back. And the terms and conditions of some of this money, they were trying to get it out so fast. I think there was a poor screening and then poor explanation of the actual provisions and what you had to fulfill in order to be eligible for the funding.
Thank you, Deputy. And the interest accruing daily, unbelievable. That money could have been put to such better use. Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, I was on the board at the time, and some of the interest that accrued, we were being told at the time, the best advice we had is that we would win this case. And they did wait a bit, but then the decision was made that they absolutely had to borrow the money and pay it because, the interest was accruing at such a rapid rate. But notwithstanding any of that, we really have no option but to pay this.
Correct. There would be no option because every day it was getting, the debt was getting larger. Good point.
Yeah, and the other thing that, again, the issue with this, particularly for the rec, the combined total of 1.6 million, for them to have to absorb that at this point, they simply financially could not. They would be insolvent if they had to pay this themselves at this point. So again, that's the reason for the write-off.
Absolutely. Council, a motion has been moved by Councillor McGrath. It's been seconded by Councillor Fleming. We've had our discussion. All in favour of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, motion's passed unanimously. Thank you, Councillor.
Aye.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Pryor. Item 4B, the briefing note, replacement of the CN pedestrian crossing. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, I drafted a briefing note for council, and again, I'll just quickly go through this. This is an issue that has come up on a number of occasions. I know Councillor McGrath certainly has been inquiring about this. So again, after going through the issue of the replacement of the CN pedestrian crossing, particularly with CN, again, report back to council. Again, just as far as background goes, the issue of reinstating the pedestrian crossing that CN removed in August of 2025 has recently been raised, again, by Councillor McGrath. The crossing connected Esplanade Street with Brunswick Street and was located directly behind the Truro Centre. It served as an important route for residents and visitors to access the downtown area and visit Victoria Park more conveniently. Although this crossing was frequently used by the public, it was originally designed as a pathway for platform access for a former passenger rail line that ceased to operate decades ago. Consequently, the crossing was never intended for public use and did not comply with current Transport Canada standards for a pedestrian crossing. As a result, CN determined it posed a safety risk and had to be removed. With the closing done, pedestrians are now required to cross at Yonge Street, which some residents find less convenient. So from a discussion perspective, although Council has not yet taken an official position on reinstating the crossing, staff were directed to engage with CN to explore what would be required to establish a safe pedestrian crossing in that location. Following discussion with CN officials, their Public Works Division provided a preliminary rough order of magnitude estimate for work and associated costs of installing a new pedestrian crossing. The estimate provides Council with a general overview of the scope of the work. Should a more formal estimate be needed for broader dissemination, CN would require additional time and to prepare a comprehensive assessment. Further consultation via rail would also be necessary regarding aspects of the project that affects their operation. And again, I didn't put in the briefing note, but I assume any further evaluation would be at our cost, because if CN engineers or drawings were to have to be created, we would have to pay for that. So from a preliminary cost estimate, at this stage, the estimate provided by CN is considered rough, but it indicates the project would cost more than $3 million. A significant portion of the work and proposed mitigation are aimed at ensuring CN can maintain its no-whistle status in the area by preventing new trespassing risks. The following items are considered minimum requirement to provide the reinstatement of the pedestrian crossing. Install a high-security fence along the entire corridor from Yonge Street to Prince/Cottage Streets, covering an estimated 3 kilometers. Provide a full warning system at the crossing, including lights, bells, and gates. construct a new pedestrian crossing using either rubber or concrete material for ease of maintenance, relocate the Via Rail platform 50 meters to the west to ensure the crossing is not within the platform area. This adjustment would need to be discussed with Via, as the passenger rail lines typically prefer not to have a public crossing within their platform area. Via may also request additional security measures to prevent trespassing onto the platform. Install an anti-trespass mats at both ends of the platform to deter unauthorized access, and complete associated track work along the passenger platform installations. So from a conclusion based on the information provided, while restoring the pedestrian crossing would benefit certain residents and visitors by improving access, the project presents a major capital expenditure for the town. This initiative falls outside the town's current long-term capital plan, and moving forward would require delaying or possibly canceling other projects. Currently, there is a pedestrian crossing on Yonge Street that is approved, maintained, and funded in cooperation with CN. So the recommendation, Madam Mayor, is although the project would provide additional convenience to the public, it is not considered essential for the well-being of residents. Based on a basic cost-benefit analysis, several current projects would take precedence over reinstating the crossing. Staff recommends that council not pursue the project further. So that's the briefing note, Madam Mayor, but I will entertain any questions council may have on it.
Thank you. And just for clarification purposes, it was Transport Canada that deemed that crossing not safe, and once they identified that to CN, they had to act on that immediately.
Yes, yeah, you are correct.
And they had to act on that immediately. And I, for one, am very frustrated that that has been closed. I've made those comments very clear to the representative, Mr. Bateman from CN. And Mr. McGrath, no surprise. Councillor, you want to comment on this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to inquire if there were other options presented. I mean, we have one option here, which sounds like it is presented only by CN. Were other options discussed? Anything like the high security fencing, even just relocating the Via Rail platform? That sounds like a little bit of overkill when we could easily reroute the path as opposed to rerouting the platform. It feels like this has maybe come from CN as a let's make this as expensive as possible because we don't want it to have to do it. Have there been other options discussed?
The difficulty we have is that what the options are is really up to CN and Transport Canada. So it's hard for us to offer other suggestions when we don't really know what their requirements are. My understanding in talking to CN, in particular Mr. Bateman, is that this is a typical arrangement that they would require of any community. So to answer your question, no, this is what they offered as a solution for us. And we did know, and I think I indicated some, when we had discussions a couple of years ago about this, there was a similar setup or structure that was without any dollars associated with it. This is similar to what they've talked about before, particularly the fencing and closing that off, because quite frankly, one of their solution, well, not a solution, they said for a number of years they were just going to fence the whole area, and that would automatically, before they actually remove the crossing, they would fence it so people couldn't cross there. They really do not want anybody crossing in anything less than a full warning system and all the literally bells and whistles that are in place to do that. So again, this is all they've offered to us at this point.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I mean, this is obviously, I would have to agree with the conclusion based on what's been provided, or the recommendation rather, that at that cost it is not worth pursuing. But it is a bit of it feels like a bit of a gut punch when we travel to other communities, see pedestrian crossings that do not have quite literally all these bells and whistles, some lights and things. I point to some of the pictures that were provided by constituents from other communities when they were traveling that do not meet all of these, and it makes me wonder, why is it good for them and not for us? But I thank you for the report.
Yeah, and I guess the challenge with that, Councillor, is of those pictures, we don't know what those installations actually cost. Mm-hmm. So I would say in our experience with CN crossing and the cost of construction. Even a simple crossing over a single track, and we have more than a single track to cross, would probably be in the range of, you know, again, I'm guessing, but $1 million and not have the fence requirement. The biggest challenge we have is there's so much open area and so many opportunities to cross. They have to ensure that if they put a crossing in, it's only that crossing can be used. And I think that presents a challenge in itself. A lot of the cost, I think, is the fencing.
Right. Yeah. I'll end it with that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for the briefing note, Mr. Dolter. Item 4C is a briefing note on affordable housing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, this briefing note came forward from a number of questions. I know we did have an inquiry from existing cooperative talking about property tax reductions. So again, just wanted to provide an overview for council on that. And just in general terms, the town has identified an affordable community as one of its strategic outcomes within its 25 to 28 strategic plan. As part of this, council is focused on improving access to affordable housing by advocating to the province for programs and funding that support the development of new housing units. These efforts aim to increase availability of below market rate options for residents who need greater affordability. From our perspective, from a program funding, the town is preparing to apply for federal funding programs designed to assist municipalities in providing service land at a reduced development costs and enable lower cost residential construction. Excuse me, sorry. Talking too much. Helping developers pass savings on to new home buyers or tenants. Staff have completed most of the work on these funding proposals, excuse me, allowing us to submit applications as soon as those programs open up, and we're starting to see some of them open now. Under the Municipal Government Act, the MGA allows municipalities to provide direct financial assistance to businesses for the purposes of increasing the availability of affordable housing in municipalities, and that's under Article 57.4. This allows council to provide tax relief to a developer who either converts existing commercial or residential space into new units or constructs new units, increasing affordable housing as determined by council. Municipalities have typically aided charitable and nonprofit organizations that commit to administering and operating facilities for the term of the assistance agreement. And a good example of this for council is aware of, it was recently in New Glasgow. There was a motel converted into affordable units, and again, New Glasgow provided a tax break as a result of that. So the MGA does not permit the reduction or exemption of existing property tax unless the property owners is a registered charity or the property is used directly and solely for a charitable purpose. There are other categories for commercial properties to qualify for reductions by policy, but this would only allow for them to be assessed at the residential rate. This applies to nonprofits, community groups, charities, fraternal, educational, recreational, religious, cultural, and sporting organizations. So that's some of the things that we can already do by policy. With the recent request we had, current legislation would not permit the town to consider tax exemptions or reductions for existing residential multi-unit unless they meet the requirements above. According to the CMHC, housing market outlook for Nova Scotia for 2026, Halifax housing market is shifting from a rapid population-driven price growth to a more balanced pace. A strong employment will continue to support the market, but slower migration and labor constraints will temper its momentum. In Halifax, prices and housing starts are expected to stabilize. At the local level, a similar forecast is expected. There are signs of a slowdown in market demand for units, even as numerous new development projects remain under construction. If market conditions remain the same, we would expect this to put some pressure on rental rates in the area due to the increase in supply and available units. Market conditions of supply exceeding demand will help to stabilize prices and may provide more affordable units as developers compete to fill those units. So the recommendation is council should remain open to the option to provided to it under the MGA Article 57.4. However, given the apparent changes in market conditions, the availability of units will likely continue to improve the affordability issues for most renters in the short term.
Thank you. One of my concerns is, with the province, is some landlords, over the years, when they were building developments, they were giving subsidies, and some of them would be 10, 15, 20 years. But when some of these subsidies are coming to an end, and some of them are, I don't think there's anything in place now to carry these subsidies on. So because there is a rental cap in place of 5%, that helps, but, you know, I think that's what, you know, I want to look into that, because I think they should be offering these subsidies again, because the people that are living in these apartments, some of them are retired, some of them are young people, and they cannot afford these high rents that, and I know it's expensive to build these dwellings, but there are people that are basically just living from day to day, and I think these subsidies need to be looked at. Yeah. Councillor Talbot.
Yes. Mike, has the province approved the, I'm not even sure what the term was, I think it was exclusionary zoning, whereby that would give us the ability to go in and require, if someone was building 50 units, we could require that a percentage of them become affordable housing. Has that passed yet?
I'm going to defer to the Director of Planning Development.
Yeah, there were amendments put through probably 3 or 4 years ago now for inclusionary zoning. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we have not enacted any of that at this point. And again, the difficulty always will be, even with inclusionary zoning, is controlling and ensuring that, you know, those units that, you know, would remain, you know, in a competitive, you know, and remain at a low cost rental rates. Again, we don't, unless you have, you know, a CMHC or somebody managing it, once tenants leave, you don't know whether or not the new tenants coming in are being offered that same, those same provisions, again, because it's not, there's no you'd have to establish also an ongoing monitoring system on how that would go.
I guess my concern is I don't really feel that we have a plan to address this. But like, we're talking a little bit about some grants, but I mean, there are other municipal units that'll make municipal land available. Like, they're taking some concrete steps, and I don't see what we're doing in this regard.
Well, that's so in those cases, again, by policy, for example, I think a good example is what happened recently in Amherst and Cumberland. They used the provisions of the 27 or 57.4 to do that, and it allowed them to give, by policy, give some breaks to developers in order to do that, to offer land or to offer a tax break. So if we were in a position where new units were going to be put in place, we could do exactly the same thing, and council can consider that. So that's exactly what happened in that situation. They offered land or service, and I think they provided some servicing in order to make sure that happened. So under 57.4, we could do that as well if somebody, and that's why the note says we should be open to doing that if the opportunity presents itself. You know, so we could still do exactly that.
Okay, Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the briefing note, Mr. Dolter. Just wanted to get clarification, because this was my motion to have this presented. The recent requests that sort of drove this motion, would that organization qualify under, you know, you say must be a registered Canadian charity and the property solely, directly and solely used for charitable purpose? Do those organizations qualify under that?
I don't believe a cooperative is a charitable society, no. They're under a cooperative housing. I don't think they qualify as a charity.
Okay, so when it comes to cooperatives that they're already existing, as you mentioned, we do have we do have routes open to us, available to us under the MGA 57 subsection 4, but that these co-op organizations don't qualify for any of the help that we're currently able to give.
Correct. And if that project were starting today, we might be able to, we could consider it, but not for existing properties that have been subject to normal property tax over the years.
Okay, thank you.
I'd love to see a project with a co-op housing go in here. I think it's such a positive thing. And I've worked with Jeff Yule, and I've talked, we met with the Mr. Dolter, as you know, and I think we're all in agreement. We'd love to see something like that happen, for sure. So it's a very good program. Councillor Graham?
I found both briefing notes and the information about the Central Nova Scotia Civic Society grant to be very helpful. I'm sure others in our community would too. Could those be made available online?
The briefing notes,
Yeah.
yes, I don't think there's nothing, they were presented today, so they could be part of the package, yes.
I think so, and I think that people would like to redigest that and look at them in more detail. They are well done and well presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I do agree, Mr. Dolter, that there is downward pressure on rental rates as vacancies become, as units become more available and vacancy rates rise. That's very true. But so some apartments are going to become more affordable, but they're not low income. And the issue is there's a lot of people that require rents lower than that. They need to be subsidized. There needs to be some other way of doing it. And I think some of the frustration is that, and this is an observation, that we're waiting for someone to come to us. And I like to see us to be a little more proactive and work with the developing community to get something going here. Choose a site, choose a developer, choose a plan, and approach it that way. Cooperative housing, be a little more proactive and hopefully get some housing that is below market value, not just a market value that's falling, but actually below market value, and put people in quality housing that is affordable to them. So that's my comment. And I'd like to see us do that. I think this addresses some of the things that Councillor Wayne was talking about.
Yeah.
That's when those subsidies are important as well, because there is that happening now. But when those subsidies run out, there are people that are getting quality housing right now. But when those subsidies run out, what's going to happen? That's my concern.
One of the challenges we have, and the mayor and I have had some discussions with the province on again, provincial responsibility, affordable housing units. And one of the comments is that Truro doesn't have a problem because we're building so many multi-units now that housing is not a problem here. And but I think we all understand that we aren't producing, below market units. We're producing market units, right? Mm-hmm. So again, I think that's where council, I agree, council should probably be going back to the province saying, look, there's still a major section of the population that is not being given opportunity to get into housing because, again, where the rates are. And contrary to, the province certainly focused on other areas, not ours. And unfortunately, we're a victim of our own success in some ways because we are building a lot of units. But again, they're not. We need some below market units, and that's where the province needs to come in.
Correct. That's right. We are building units, but a lot of people can't afford to live in them. So, that's not addressing the ones that are in need the most. Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. I totally agree with my fellow councillors' comments, and particularly what Mr. Dolter just said, because that brings me to the old hospital site up there. I know that's been, the province, my understanding, half of it was supposed to be for affordable, low housing for people to afford. And I haven't seen anything, I don't see any bulldozers up there or anything work going on. I don't know if Mr. Dolter has an update on that situation.
I do. So all I can tell you is that just stay tuned, because That's right at the top of my agenda because we need it. So just stay tuned.
Yeah, and just for council's information too, I talked about in the briefing note, infrastructure projects. One of the projects, we are supporting a developer that is putting in affordable housing. So one of the roadblocks that the developer has is the cost of putting infrastructure in upfront. So we are supporting that application by putting in an infrastructure project where we could assist in putting that in, lower the costs, again, make it more affordable. So that is one of the projects that we're supporting with that funding should it move forward.
Thank you. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one clarification, something you had just said triggered this in me, because you said that we are building a lot of units, but because I've heard this from some folks in the community that think it actually is the town, us as council and staff, who are building these units, and that is not the case.
Okay, approving a lot of units, how would that be?
We have
Okay,
approved many units, because a lot of people seem to think that, you know, when these buildings are going up, they think that we're doing it and their taxes are going to go up in order to pay for that, but we are not the ones doing that work. We provide the governance, we provide the oversight, we provide that approval and the guidelines that have to be followed, but we're not doing the actual building. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, we're now moving on to item 5, in-camera summer reports. Mr. Dolter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we had an in-camera meeting on March 19th. In that meeting, there was 2 items of a legal nature that were discussed and one land issue.
Thank you. We're now moving on to our committee reports. After each report, council will have a chance to ask questions, and then I will call for a motion to have all reports presented. So our first report is from CAO Mike Dolter. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, just going through the highlights of my report. Leadership in governance under the goal of trust and transparency. Talk about the Rec Board and the NSPE. So in March, we continued to meet and work with the new Society Board, the province and senior managers at the Rec to work through some of the ongoing issues resulting from the recent governance and operational changes. The board shared the unfortunate news that although both the municipal and provincial funding had been committed, the Nova Scotia Stampede would be cancelled for 2026. While most of the Rec senior management team were prepared to carry out the event, key aspects of the event were left in doubt, leaving the board little choice in the final decision. The lease on the NSP came to an end on March 31st, and the society is in the process of removing its remaining items from the site. We'll be working with the Farm Loan Board to deal with the final issues on the site, and when I say we, that is myself and Mr. Troke with the county, as the board appointed us to deal directly with the province on those matters. The next item is the FOIPOP Act regulation changes, and that was a meeting that took place on March 25th, 2026. So CAOs and staff responsible for FOIPOP attended a virtual engagement session seeking comments on planned amendments to the Act, the first major update in 25 years. The changes will come into effect on the 1st of April 2027. Initial engagement started in 2023. The session was meant to gather input on key areas of regulation development. Areas discussed during the sessions were the common integrated programs that are affected, data linkage and data linking programs, access and storage outside of Canada, which is a big issue for our IT department, privacy assessment requirements, privacy policy requirements, privacy breach notifications, and access regulations. And again, all important stuff, not extremely exciting when you're sitting through it, but it is all very important and affects us on a regular basis when it comes to FOIPOP. Provincial representatives receive extensive feedback from each item, which should help in developing regulations that municipalities can work within. Certainly, Bridgewater had they have a manager that deals specifically with FOIPOP, and he provided some excellent input to the committee. And certainly, while this seems like a kind of a dry subject, certainly from our perspective, they do need to get the regulations right, because it extremely has an extreme impact on municipalities, and it does take a lot of our time, and certainly information being sought after. Certainly the public is entitled to it, but we need to make sure that the regulations are set up in such a way that it works effectively. So again, we will continue to provide input as required. From an operational efficiencies perspective, purchase policy and procurement review that we are currently conducting. So the current purchasing policy for the town was last updated in 2019. As we continue the process of updating our bylaws and policy, this policy is seen as a priority, given that it impacts all departments' business processes. We've engaged an outside consultant to assist in a review of our current policy and processes, to update and align practices to ensure efficiency and make improvements where necessary. The process will engage all departments to consider specific needs and provide procedures that will be effective across the organization. So again, that is underway now. Prioritize municipal spending, consolidated budget review with council. These sessions took place March 4th and 5th, and then again on March 13th. So the final product will be brought before council today, but council and staff met during March to review and amend the 26-27 budgets for the town. These included the operating budget, capital budget, and the water utility budget. The process overall went well, as council had an opportunity to challenge and in some cases amend the departmental budgets through discussions with staff. The process is complex, and as increases in revenue are often offset with increases in inflation that are running in many cases well above the consumer price index. So again, as we went through the budget, I think a lot of people talk about the consumer price index and inflation, but again, a lot of our expenses are far in excess of what CPI is. While this budget is submitted for approval, there's a lot of work to be done as we develop a more comprehensive modeling for both operating and capital needs. We will also be starting a water rate study to determine a sustainable path for the utility moving forward. Under sustainable environment, adaptation and resiliency, the fire service mapping meeting took place on March 12, 2026. CEOs from across the province attended a virtual briefing session from the Department of Emergency Management for the Fire Services Entity Mapping and Catalog Development Project. The Department of Emergency Management is developing an integrated data set for all fire services entities in the province. The intent of the project is to support planning and strengthen fire services. The briefing provided an overview of the mapping developments and the efforts in cataloging resources. CEOs were asked to identify staff or a process that would assist in confirming existing data and fill in identified gaps. As part of the process, we also provide data and corrections to the catalog. So we'll be reviewing extracts specific to the town and to review and provide any necessary data and corrections. And certainly Chief Curry will be involved in those sessions and reviewing that mapping to ensure. A lot of ours is fairly straightforward because we have the single station, single department. I know the county is facing a bigger task because all the different departments they have and the equipment and things, but it does look like a very positive step forward. So from a strategic communication initiative perspective, I'm just going to highlight some items there. So with respect to public transportation, town and county have developed the regional public transportation feasibility plan, and as council aware, Arcadis is the company that's working through that with us. So we did receive a draft report on January 31st. Stakeholder Advisory Committee met on February to review it, and it was felt by staff that the committee that the report required changes and additions to it. So staff spent March working with Arcadis to address these deficiencies. So the final report was delivered to the town and county on March 31st. It's currently being reviewed by town and county staff, and once this review is complete, a joint council session will be held to deliver the report to both the town and county councils. The fleet electrification study. So a final report on phase 1 was received in September. The town also received 75% funding for phase 2 of this study through the Low Carbon Communities Funds, with an additional 25% of the funding coming from the town's inclusion in the Quest Canada Net Zero Communities Accelerator Program. So phase 2 is now underway with East Point, with the expected completion in spring of 2026. The other initiative that's going on is Recover Initiative for the Truro Farmers Market. So a design workshop with Recover, East Point, and the advisory committee took place in February to review the findings from the site visit that took place, and to start building the business case and explore future usability of the building. An additional site visit was conducted on March 16th to further review the building envelope. Staff are also working with Recover to develop a business case for the retrofit. Climate Risk and Resiliency Plan. The town's Climate Risk and Resiliency Plan is now underway. The study is expected to be delivered in the fall of 26. The Climate Risk and Resiliency Plan also will assess the town's vulnerability to climate change impacts, including extreme heat, flooding, wildfires, invasive species, and storms, and will develop strategies to mitigate risk and build resilience. Funding for this project was provided through FCM Climate Ready Plans and Processes Program. So staff continue to work with the consultant to finalize the public engagement component of the report. At this time, workshops and focus groups have taken place with over 20 different groups and organizations in Truro. A community workshop was hosted on March 26th, and a public survey also ran for 2 weeks in March and received 440 responses. So again, certainly a lot of community interest with that plan. Community Wildfire Protection Plan. In December, the town received funding from the Department of Natural Resources to undertake a Community Wildfire Protection Plan. The purpose of developing the plan is to identify wildfire risk within the surroundings of the town of Truro, specifically regarding potential wildfire outbreaks in Truro's Victoria Park, its watershed area, or adjacent undeveloped wooded areas. The town has retained B&T Wildfire Technologies to assist with the creation of this plan. Staff met with B&T in late March to start the project. Public engagement will take place in May and June to help assess community preparedness for wildfires and identify high-risk vulnerable areas for planning. From a communications perspective, Madam Mayor, there was international women's video that was put together, which I think featured town employees from our different departments and the contributions that our female staff were providing. And also, there's a good infographic that was put together for levels of government, just so that people can understand what the municipal, provincial, and federal levels of government do. And Councillor McGrath talked a minute ago about us being involved in housing or building houses, so it's always good when people understand what we do and what we don't do. So again, that's good for our general education of the public. And again, there's additional social media projects that are there for council's review. And again, as always, we have a listing of the funding programs that have been applied for and received, and those that are outstanding. And again, there will be, as more programs open up, we will continue to apply and hopefully get more funding, both federally and where possible provincially. That is my report, Madam Mayor, respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. Very detailed. I just want to follow up on a couple things about the Stampede. Very disappointed that the Stampede is not going forward this year. It was a great benefit to the community as far as bringing people together from our local community, from near and far, so I'm very disappointed. As you know, our council voted for citizen reps on the board, the new rep board. That has not happened yet, as the board tries to get things under control. Deputy Mayor Thomas sits on that board. He's been very vocal about citizen representation, so there's nothing to report on that until we get things under control, but hopefully we'll be sitting here in this time next year and things will be back on track, and looking forward to the positivity that I'm sure you can agree with that, Mr. Dolter. Do we have any questions on Mr. Dolter's report? Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing that's not on the report, going back to something I haven't asked about for a little while, pigeons at the library. Do we have an update on the pigeon situation?
We have budgeted for pigeon control. We are working with the identified contractor, and we do expect something to get underway in the next couple months. I think they're still finalizing the strategy on that.
Okay, and then possibly putting you on the spot a little bit here, just looking at your report regarding the wreck, because I agree with the mayor. It is unfortunate that the Stampede is not continuing this year. It did provide a lot of benefit to the region. Certainly a lot of people were looking forward to it. You mentioned here, he says, while most of the rec senior management team were prepared to carry out the event, does that suggest that some of the senior management were not prepared? And are you able to expand a little bit on why? Like the key aspects were left in doubt. Is
No,
there anything that
I
we can
can't
expand
really
on?
comment on that because that is more business, but I'll just, yeah, it wasn't I'll say it was not a unanimous that it could or couldn't be done.
Okay, and no other extrapolation or anything that can be clarified there?
Other than the fact that we, in discussions, we were under the understanding that it could be achieved this year, and I think everybody was surprised when we're told that it couldn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, mine, excuse me, mine also has to do with the rec. We don't want to see the rec, and the rec is no longer managing the Nova Scotia Provincial Exhibition grounds, no longer managing those grounds. But events on the ground, possible events on the ground. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, there is still arrangements made, particularly with 4-H are still conducting their activities. The museum is still open. And I do believe that the site can be booked through, and again, I think it is the Farm Loan Board is still in control of the site. And if not them, I'm sure anybody that wanted to use the site or wanted to book could be directed to who they need to talk to. But that has not been formally identified to us who they have to talk to at this point. We're still dealing directly with Farm Loan Board.
Right, but if the Rec Society had an event that could use that facility.
I do believe they could access it if there was something that was organized, yes. That was an indication. In fact, if the Stampede had gone ahead, we were giving every indication we had access to the site in order to do that.
That's my understanding as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillors. We're now going to move on to our corporate services report. Director Tara Russell, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we'll start off with the financials. The attached financial statement provides an overview of the financial position of Town of Truro operations up to the end of February 2026. As of the end of February, total revenue is $40.2 million, representing 100.9% of the annual budget, and is $2.7 million higher than this time last year. Deed transfer tax is $791,000 over budget and is the primary driver of the revenue and why it's over budget overall. Deed transfer budget is relatively conservative, as we had no way of predicting how many properties would be sold in the year to generate this revenue. As of the end of February, total expenses amount to $34.6 million, representing 86.9% of the annual budget, and is $2.8 million higher than this time last year. Results are in line with expectations. The financial report contains comments on both revenue and expenses to help explain the variances to the budget. Moving on to capital, the capital budget report is also attached. Values in this report are shown at total costs. However, as you know, some of these purchases will be partially funded by grants. $6.8 million, or 54% of the $13 million adjusted, $13 million adjusted budget has been spent as of February 28th. For taxes, tax accounts receivable, 1.9% of total taxes were outstanding at the end of March, compared to 0.8% at the same time last year. This is down from 3.1% that I presented last month. Tax collection efforts are fundamental to the town's financial health. Staff insurers reminders are sent out to property owners monthly, and they continue to work with property owners offering payment arrangements and educating them on payment options. Each year, the town actively follows the Municipal Government Act regulations with regards to the tax sale process, which is the final step to tax collection process. The town continues to receive a green light on tax collection efforts as it relates to provincial FCIs. I'm giving an update here on the enterprise resource planning replacement. As discussed during the budget deliberations, the town's current accounting, tax, water billing, and payroll system will be at end of life in 2029. Work towards a system replacement will begin in 26-27, starting with a comprehensive needs assessment. This needs assessment will examine the town's existing systems, business processes, and supporting infrastructure to assess future requirements and organizational readiness for an ERP solution. In March, a project charter outlining the scope of the initial phases of the project was drafted and will be circulated to internal stakeholders in April for review, feedback, and alignment. An update related to performance reviews. All non-union staff received their annual performance reviews during the quarter, and in the upcoming months, our human resource manager will be rolling out a new performance management system, starting with goal setting that are linked to council's strategic priorities. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Russell? Okay, seeing none. Oh, I do see them. Okay, Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Russell, for your report. Just a quick question on the tax sale process. I know we don't have anything listed for tax sale right now, which I view as a positive. Hopefully it means that we are helping people stay on top of their taxes when they're falling behind. When we're following that process, though, is it just one time of year? Because I understood it was just one time of year that the tax sale happens. Is that correct, or is it an ongoing assessment?
I believe it's one time a year.
Just one time a year, and that's in the fall, I think, correct?
I believe we're in the process right now. There are certain properties that are going through title search, I believe.
Pardon me. Yeah, it's actually a fairly lengthy process, and in conjunction with Department of Finance, my office is working through that, doing title searches on some properties that might be involved in the tax sale. Then notices are sent out. So it actually is, the tax sale takes place once a year, but it occurs over the course of several months in terms of all of the steps that lead up to the sale itself.
Okay, great. Thank you for those clarifications.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Thomas.
Yeah, mine has to do with an item under services to other governments. The town of Bible Hill, $48,000 was budgeted. And perhaps yourself, Ms. Russell or Mr. Dolter could answer what that service is we provide to Bible Hill. I know the other ones listed, but I wasn't.
It's the, we do share the EDIA coordinator with Bible Hill. So again, we have a single contract position, and we share between the two communities.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's an arrangement, a contract we have with Bible Hill.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you very much, Director Russell. Our next report is Fire Services with Chief Blois Curry. Chief Curry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Council. Last month we received 110 alarms. There was 9 fires, 1 car fire, 2 brush or grass fires, 5 motor vehicle collisions, 69 medical calls, 21 alarms, 1 pole fire, 1 burning complaint, 1 elevator rescue, and 1 mutual aid. The fire inspector's report for last month was 6 fire inspections, 5 follow-up inspections, 3 fire investigations, 1 alcohol and gaming inspection, 1 vendor permit inspection, and 2 public education sessions. This month, the fire prevention officer attended a fire investigation 2-day seminar and training at the Office of the Fire Marshal Office in Dartmouth. This counts towards his continued education to maintain certification. Also this month, he attended Future Works and had 2 fire and safety presentations and fire extinguisher trainings, having 35 participants, which is good. His office will be continuing to work with myself and DNR in the next process of the Fire Smart certification process for staff, which we are working on, and we are currently at level 1 with that now. Firefighter training was strategic in conducting a primary search in a smoke-filled building, inspections of personal protective gear, and review and inspection of wildland firefighting equipment to prepare for the season. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Chief. I don't see any, yeah. Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for your report. One just quick question. The car fire, do we know if that was gas, diesel, electric, other?
It was a gas.
Gas.
It was gas.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Our Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Fox, your report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a planning development report for March 2026. Update on the town subdivision bylaw review under planning projects. Planning staff have completed a draft of an updated subdivision bylaw. The bylaw, which was last updated in 1998, forms part of the town's community plan. Staff plan on presenting a draft of the new subdivision bylaw to the Planning Advisory Committee in May. Planning applications, we have 6 applications currently under review, one at 656 Yonge Street, one at 37 Braemar, which I believe has been withdrawn, so only 5 actually, so 37 Braemar has been withdrawn. 149 Callback, McClure's Mills and Lower Truro Road, one at 423 Roby, and one at 219 Queen Street. We have 1 rezoning application at 7 Alice. We have 9 site plan approval applications, one at 161 McLean, one at 9 McLean, one at 11 McLean, one at 43 Willow, one at 158 Queen, one at 827 Prince, one at 108 Curtis, one at 124 Ford Street, and one at 258 Brunswick Street. In terms of building statistics for the month of March 2025, we were at $4,793,910. For the month of March 2026, we're at $813,294. Bylaw enforcement activity for the month of March, we had 43 active files and 20 of those have been resolved. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. I know this is probably going to come between property standards, but is there any further update on the slowest moving project I've ever seen in my life at the building on Prince Street used to be the Novelty?
No, I have no update.
Yeah, like snails. Yeah, very slow moving. Councillor Fleming, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton, through you to Mr. Fox. On the development agreement applications, there's the one on McClure's Mills is WM Fairs, Mac Investments, and then there's WM Fairs again at 2 on Queen Street, 219 Queen. Is that the same company, or is Fairs involved in both, and then it's 2 different
It's the
ones?
same company.
Same company doing
Yep.
both. Oh, that's good
Yep.
then. So they're investing in the town for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Talbot?
Yes, Mr. Fox, I was under the impression that we're reviewing and updating where required all our bylaws. So is that correct? And if so, where are we in the process?
That would be more directed to, that's not something I'm heading up, that's for sure.
No, so the bylaw review, policy review, all department heads are looking at the bylaws that pertain to their particular departments. I've asked for most work to be done or near completion in July. Again, and I'll get an update where we are at that point, because again, as we get more into construction season of that, it's going to slow down some of that, particularly when it comes to public works. But we are actively going through the bylaws and policies now. Again, the procurement policy is one we talked about earlier. And I will be sitting down with council, in fact, on the council meeting bylaw to go through that. And so that's one of the ones that needs to be updated with some of the changes that have occurred as far as virtual meetings and things like that goes. And again, it's still reflecting the old policies. So again, we're working through them. And again, and some of them the revision may be just to delete some of the bylaws, because there are some older ones that probably don't need to be there anymore. So we are rationalizing as well.
Okay, thank you. Apologize, Mr. Fox, I didn't mean to give you all that extra work.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fox, for your report. Just curious about the site plan approval applications. Online, I see that we currently have 4 listed, but your report lists 9. So when can we see the other 5 being added, and are you able to provide any preliminary information, I guess, on 827 Prince Street? I see what's written here, but I don't know if this is for public yet. don't want to get myself in trouble.
Right, so some of the information we wouldn't have put on the website yet because the applications come in, but we're still working with the developer to come up with their finalized plans. So we don't really typically put anything on the website till we have something to put there. So that's why you see more here than on the website. 827 Prince Street is actually, as I understand it, and I'm not the one heading up the file, but it is a redevelopment of the former bank building to residential, with the addition of a few stories to the building on top of the existing bank structure, and effectively rebuilding the bank structure itself, just keeping the shell of the building. And I believe it's a company out of Halifax that has had some experience dealing with some of the older buildings in downtown Halifax, rebuilding those buildings, but keeping the exterior facade of the structure only and building a new building inside of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir.
You were quite excited about that, Councillor McGrath, when you saw some movement going on there. That's the former National Bank there, a long vacated property, so that's great. Prime location in our town, so that's great news. Thank you, councillors. Now we're going to have a report from Chief Dave McNeil. Chief, when you're ready.
Thanks, Mayor Hinton. March's report is as follows. We had 25 motor vehicle collisions, issued 279 summary offense tickets for Motor Vehicle Act, conducted 14 road safety checkpoints, answered 20 noise or bylaw type complaints or animal complaints, 12 impaired driving investigations, 1 drug investigation, 132 other provincial acts like Liquor Control Act and Trespass Act files, 67 mental health and well-being calls, 21 court violation or court order breaches, 12 crimes against person, 15 assaults, 32 thefts, property damage or disturbances, there were 17, frauds, there were 7, suspicious person or vehicle calls, 56, alarms were 38, and general assistance calls were 117 for a total of 865 calls, resulting in 287 charges, 167 parking tickets issued, and 77 speeding offenses on various locations. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief? Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for your report. Just a quick question. I do see the parking ticket seems to be primarily driven by winter parking ban again, but I also see that quite the uptick in the total speeding tickets issued. Possibly, I guess, due to the time of year where we've had both snow and parking issues, and as well nice weather to that might encourage people to get a little bit more heavy-footed. Do you have any insight into that? Is it the weather? Has it been an increase in patrols?
I think your summary is probably pretty accurate. There's not a lot of speeding in January, February, and December when the roads are snow covered, but I think you're probably correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Graham?
The weather is changing, although not today, but we are moving into the spring-summer season, and I expect we're going to see encampments pop up again around our community. I was wondering about the role of police, the role of our community, what the response of the community should be when they see encampments setting up. Do you have advice? Is there an official role for the police department when it comes to encampments?
It hasn't changed since we started dealing with it. So,
Yeah.
If it's on private property and you're a private property owner and someone's trespassing on your property, then you have the right to call us. If it's public space, debatable.
What do you advise our community to do by and large? Just keep calling? Is that really? I imagine you're inundated already.
Yeah, well, obviously I wasn't prepared to answer the question because I didn't have any notice of it, but I mean, our role hasn't changed. Primarily, we're there to ensure the public safety of the people that are camping and also the people that are in the neighborhood. So it puts us in a bit of a precarious position because homelessness isn't a crime unless they are trespassing on private property. So our role is to work with the Truro Housing Outreach Society. We work with their navigator. We refer, if we do get calls about people camping, we do refer them to the navigator, and we try to get them plugged into the services that they require. So it's not really a policing issue, homelessness, but we're often the first responders to that thing. But it's difficult, right? So
Yeah.
there's an encampment that's been in the industrial park area for 2 years. I mean, they're way up in the woods. Debatable who owns the land. So anyway, there's yeah, keep calling us if you want to report it, but oftentimes we're not the fix. If that helps, I don't know.
It does, and thank you. I apologize for not giving you a heads up. I don't always think of all the questions ahead of time, and came to me in this moment. Thank you.
And Chief, I want to thank you as well. I had an issue with that encampment you're speaking about on Friday evening. I got a call late that night, and for the excellent response I got from Truro Police Service for that. And so I want to thank you very much for that, because it is concerning, especially if there is crimes being committed because of those individuals in the encampment. So I got extremely good response, so thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just wanted to mention that DOJ has a call out for participants to join an advisory board for the community safety boards. And these are the boards that are not to replace the police boards, but enhance them in some ways. So we'll see how that unfolds. I just see that there's a request for people to sit on that advisory board.
Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, Chief. Now we're going to move on to our Public Works report. Director Oliver Browning will present his report.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. I trust everyone had the opportunity to read our department's report in its entirety. At this point in time, I will give you the monthly highlights for the month of March. The department staff have completed detailed design on our road preservation tax funding projects, so we will be ready to start putting them out to tender probably the end of this month. The recapitalization of Argus Drive is planned to be executed this spring once the remaining work associated with the infilling of the existing ponds of the new Argus Drive ball field site is completed. Department staff met with the business manager of the business adjacent to Argus Drive to consult with them about the project and determine how best that we can cooperate to minimize disruption as best as possible to them. Department staff also consulted with the owner of the adjacent property and coordinated the work with any future development plans that they have with that particular property. Detailed design is complete for Havelock Street recapitalization. The recapitalization of Havelock Street is planned to be executed this summer. Department staff plan to arrange meetings with each of the business owners on Havelock Street itself in April to consult with them about the project and determine how best we can cooperate to minimize disruption as best we possibly can during the project. The existing traffic and pedestrian signal lights at the intersections of Queen and Walker Street, as well as the intersection of Queen and Lawrence Street, are planned to be upgraded this spring and summer. Department staff continue to monitor the progress of work by the province on the Walker Street Main Street Bridge, as this project will have impacts on the start date of our project. Staff are assessing how best to proceed with this work in conjunction with the work by the province on this bridge. The work by Ridgemark Design and Construction on the Town Hall office renovation continues to progress under budget and on schedule. The work associated with the renovation of the office space of Engineering and Public Works is now complete. Renovation work on the first floor continues to progress. The date of substantial performance and contract for this work continues to be May 15th, 2026. Department staff continue to progress with data acquisition and verification of the overall sanitary sewer and storm sewer systems as part of our asset management planning. Data related to age, material, and size have been compiled in the department's GIS model. Department staff will be completing assessments of condition, probability of failure, and consequence of failure this summer. Staff are preparing to execute our asphalt street patching program this spring once the weather stabilizes and the asphalt plants open for the season. The program will begin with addressing utility cuts, then move to arterial streets, collector streets, then local streets. Condition rating assessments and subsequent risk and priority rankings of the town's street network will be updated this summer into the fall once the asphalt street patching program is complete. This updated information will be used for capital planning for the 26-27 fiscal year. Fortunately, the town did not experience any water main breaks during the month of March. Our department, together with the Department of Corporate Services, will be moving forward with the water rate review study to review our water rates to determine the extent of rate changes necessary. A draft work breakdown structure for this project is currently being reviewed by staff to finalize. As part of this work, a full property condition assessment will be commissioned for the water treatment facility. The water distribution system has been assessed and evaluated, and this information will be incorporated into the assessment of the extent of changes to the current water rates necessary. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you. Any questions for Director Browning? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Browning, I know the province is doing the work on the Walker Street, Main Street Bridge. It's their bridge. Can you tell me any sort of timetable for completion?
What we've been advised is we're looking at now the latter part of fall.
Okay. And who's doing the work? Did they contract that out? Are you aware who's doing the work, or is that the province?
They did contract it out, and I think the general contractor is Ellis Dawn.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Graham?
I have several questions about the traffic study that was completed at Lower Truro Road and McClure's Mills Road.
Okay.
But on second thought, I wonder if maybe with input from our CAO, if it would be better to have questions answered at a committee of the whole meeting. I know there's a lot of interest from residents in that area in the traffic study. I know it's been posted online. I know people have been reading through it, but it is very data heavy. An executive summary would be helpful. But I can ask my questions now, or if they're more appropriately answered at a committee of the whole, I think there'd be interest from the community.
I mean, by and large, as always, Ms. Graham, you're more than welcome to ask any questions, that come to mind with any different thing related to our department. I'm just not quite sure how detailed of answers we can provide to what questions you may have with that right now.
I think the challenge too, if I may, the traffic study we've conducted is going to be used in conjunction with a traffic study that the developer has actually done as well in the area.
Yep.
So I think there's still some discussion on where that's going to go. Committee of the whole, we typically would not. Are you asking about comment, like having the public come in and like having a public hearing?
Not a public hearing necessarily, no. I just know that I have received a few questions about the study. People have looked at it online. And there is a lot of interest in the study, particularly as it relates, I think it has, very well articulated that there is a problem at that intersection. There's no dispute, even I can interpret that data. But there's the suggestion that there will be a extension of Lower Truro Road to connect potentially to, Wynn Road, through to Wade Road to help with traffic flow. Just wondering, my questions revolved around that. Are we seriously looking at that? Is there a budget for that? Is that something that has a timeline?
Those are all very.
Yeah.
They're all. So.
Well, I mean,
the issue we have is this is tied up with the development application as well too.
Yes.
So some of the answers to those questions can't be answered until we sit down with the developer. We go through the planning advisory committee, what the planning advisory committee may direct. So it's not straightforward, because we have our study. Again, the developers has their traffic study, and there's pre-existing situations, there's new situations going to be created with the development project.
If the development.
If it were to go forward, but clearly one of the conditions of it going forward will be that they have a way to manage the traffic. So the solution to the traffic issue may be a combination of the two traffic studies in order to discover or to look at what's pre-existing and what's new. So it's just atypical that we present, because I think the reason the questions are coming forward about that traffic study is because of the development. And I think we do have to kind of keep the two of them consistent.
I feel the study shows at this time, regardless of the development, there is an issue at that intersection. So regardless of the development, I believe the study indicates that something needs to be done.
But typically we wouldn't do that at a committee of the whole meeting. It would be a briefing to council that would be tied into, you know, some recommendation on, if we were doing it independently on a capital works project, right? If we, and looking for a decision at council. And I just don't know if we're ready to brief it. And Mr. Browning, I don't know if we're ready to brief to council on that or not. That's the,
Well, this, yeah, and this here, and this, Mr. Dolter indicated, because this is also wrapped in with development application, it's not standalone, so we also have some other moving parts involved with it. I guess at this point in time, to answer your question, do we have anything budgeted for any of the recommendations or any other improvements in that intersection? And the answer is no, not at this time. In part because it is tied with the development application. And so how those moving parts will shake out with that is still yet to be determined. And that also, I guess, kind of answers your when as well. And so,
Yeah.
next, and I guess Mr. Fox can kind of clarify as to when this particular application will next be anticipated on the agenda for PAC. But that's probably coming relatively soon.
Yeah, so this application will go back to Planning Advisory Committee at the end of May. So that would be May 25th at 6 p.m. And the traffic study would likely be discussed at that time as well.
So would it be an appropriate time then, if residents had questions about the traffic study, to ask them at that PAC meeting?
Yeah.
Could you repeat the question, please?
I was wondering if it would be an appropriate time at that May 25th meeting, if residents had questions specifically about the traffic study, would that be a
Yes.
appropriate time for them to
Yeah,
ask?
or they can contact me at any, or the planning office at any time. We're always happy to answer questions. I have been responding to questions from members of the public regarding the traffic study, so I'm happy to continue to do so. So I would encourage them to reach out to us.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. There is a lot of interest, so I appreciate the feedback.
Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Browning, for your report. Just with regard to the signaling lights at the intersection of Queen and Walker to be done this spring and summer. Initially, I think you had told us that we were trying to coordinate around that bridge repair that, of course, we are not doing, the province is doing, but we were trying to coordinate work. I think I just heard you say that they indicated it will be going into the fall, so we're going to be still going during that time. So that I'm just wondering what sort of traffic management we might have in place, and honestly, if we've got people there, it might actually improve the flow.
Absolutely. Well, ironically, maybe. Since it's now April the 13th, so there's been probably 2 weeks past, well, there has been 2 weeks past since the end of March. And so we've been eyeing this, and it's just been recently that we've kind of gotten an update, albeit high level, as far as progress of this, when they're anticipating the bridge work to be complete, which last we were told latter part of fall. Because it's not seemingly moving quicker, it's moving, well, it's being extended. We're exploring how that really would impact that particular intersection of Walker and Queen, and what impact it may have for us executing that work at that intersection while the work of the bridge is still ongoing. And so as we're kind of wrestling with that ourselves, it's pointing toward the possibility of putting forward of delaying that intersection till the following spring to get out of the way, let the province finish their bridge work. Because our fear is at this point in time is I'm not quite sure how coordinating, and it's no, I mean, when I say this, it's no fault to the province or us or anything like that, how the coordination of traffic control would work if we have our work going in conjunction or parallel with the bridge work. And I fear that it may come to the only solution being shutting the bridge down completely, which I don't know we want to do. And so this is what we're wrestling with, and I think we're going to probably come up with how our final execution plan for this will be, probably by next council meeting, just to make you guys aware and put a recommendation of this is how we think is best to move forward. But this time, as you can appreciate, that bridge work does provide complications for our work at that intersection as well.
Yeah, and my quip about possibly improving the traffic flow, I just know on the few times that I've been there, the lights are on different timing cycles. So sometimes you get a green light trying to go across the bridge, but you can't move because it's full, and then the light's red, and then it moves. And with regard to the replacing the lights, and whether that's this year or next year, how involved is that? Like, is that going to require tearing up any of the concrete around there as well? Because I know, great, because by that slip lane, which I'd also love to see go away, honestly, but that pedestrian island is currently not accessible. I don't believe there are any curb cuts on it at all. And I think trying to add curb cuts to it, it's so small, it would mostly just sort of be a little weird bump in the road.
Yeah.
So are we looking as well at a more fulsome redesign of that area to make it?
It is, as part of the scope of work of each of those two intersections, so the intersection of Walker and Queen as well as Lorne and Queen, does involve reconstruction of like sidewalk sections within there, just by its nature of the amount of disturbance required to physically install the new traffic light poles, any boxes, but also just any little minor improvements that we were eyeing to have done anyway in those areas, whether it be curb cuts, whether it be improving like just crosswalks themselves. So yeah, no, I mean, basically, to put loosely, or each intersection will be blown up and rebuilt.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor. Our final report today is by Director Ashley Sims for Parks, Recreation and Culture.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to announce that the department has filled 2 vacant positions. Please welcome Tim Dorn, our new operations supervisor, and Bria McCauley, a horticultural attendant who will be working with our maintenance team. Both come with a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we really look forward to working with them. For my report, general cleanup and maintenance efforts continue throughout downtown parks and trails. Due to the high wind and rain events in March, 15 additional hazard trees were removed from Victoria Park. Outdoor winter activities have officially wrapped up for the season. The Caldwell Roach Heartland Ice Surface had another successful year and officially closed on Thursday, March 19th, and grooming operations in Victoria Park ended on March 13th. As we transition into spring operations, seasonal staff recall letters have been issued, and seasonal staff will return on April 20th. The 2026 tree planting program is currently underway. 88 applications have been received. Currently, site assessments and species selections have been completed for 80 of those applications. The HWA treatment schedule is posted on the town's website. Treatments started in the lower park during the week of April 7th. Community programs continue to be offered. A full list of our programs are available on our website. We hosted the annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, March 28th in Victoria Park. The town of Truro partnered with the Village of Bible Hill and the municipality of Colchester County to host the event in 4 different locations. The town of Truro event had a great turnout despite the cold weather. The Town of Truro Art Acquisition Show will take place from April 8th to April 30th at the McCarthy Hall Gallery on the NSCC Truro campus. Application submissions closed on March 28th. The Town of Truro Volunteer Awards nomination are now open. Deadline to be considered for an award, including the provincial award, is May 1st, 2026. Throughout March, the Town of Truro recognized and celebrated several important community dates, including International Women's Day and Holi. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much, Director. Any questions for Director Sims? Deputy Mayor.
Just a comment, when it came to the Town Truro Art Acquisition Show, there were 60-plus entries, the most entries in the history of the show, and they were all extremely good. I was a judge there, and along with Deb Pryor, Councillor Deb Pryor, and others from the community. It was just an excellent show, and I think we picked a very good represented or winner of the exhibition. Yeah.
And they'll be joining us in council next month.
Absolutely.
There were 68 entries, yes, the most we've ever had, so
68.
it was very, very exciting. Very exciting. Councillor Talbot.
Yes, Samantha Robichaud and Frida Gavani have both resigned from Parks and Recreation for personal reasons, and I'd just like to publicly thank them for their service.
Thank you for that, Councillor, and I can echo that, their dedicated service, so that'll be a big loss to that committee. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Sims, for your report. Just a quick question about the pump tracks. Somebody asked me just this week, or last week, I guess, if we're going to have any sort of grand opening celebration or anything happening up there. And I know this is budget day, and I know we've talked about how tight the budgets are specifically, but do we have anything planned for that?
Yeah, the pump track was part of an overall big project for the rail yard as a whole with the COA funding. So we're just looking at what opportunities we can do to recognize that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just one thing in your report, you had lawn bowling. You had so many hours for lawn bowling. I was wondering, is that just a typo, or are they out there in the snow?
Sorry, that's the room. So that's what we call that room
I
for
see.
room rental. They will start in May.
I knew there was an explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm looking for a motion now to accept all the reports from the committees today. Councillor Talbot, seconder Councillor McGrath. All those in favor, say aye. Reports are approved.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Pryor. We're now moving on to item number 7, questions by mayors. I just want to say briefly, it was wonderful to have the 64th Canadian firefighters curling.
You said question by mayors.
What did I say by?
By mayors.
But did I say by mayors? Okay. I have members here. I'm reading my wrong writing. I just want to say it was just wonderful to have the curling championships there. I know, Councillor Fleming, you were very involved in that. I had this dropped off to my office. I'm going to keep it on my coffee table. Just an absolutely lovely, lovely tournament. Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for opening with the remarks for when they came to town, and the banquet was lovely, and congratulations to Alberta, who were the champions. But what a set of unity, and they had a wonderful time in the town of Truro. People were coming up saying they enjoyed their time here so much. It was just absolutely great to see. And again, as I just mentioned with what Deputy Mayor had mentioned about the art acquisition show, the artists will be joining us next month, and so talented there. So I want to go first to Councillor Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. Keeping with the sports theme, the Grey Cup is coming to Truro the end of this month, the 24th and 25th. Brett Lawther, all-star kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. As everyone knows, they won the Grey Cup last year. He's bringing the cup to Truro, and we'll be going to different, the cup will be going with Brett to different locations around town, specifically sponsors that sponsored put some money forward to bring him down, him in the cup. So it'll be quite a celebration. Shout out to the organizers, in particular Mark Bonnell, who started this got the ball rolling to get it going. And also Truro Police has agreed to escort the cup around when it's going to different locations. So that's great. And yeah, and we're going to have it here at the town office. So, and the mayor's agreed. I don't know if Mr. Dalton knows that yet, but we talked about it.
Yes, it's coming to town hall, Mr. Dalton.
We talked about it. The mayor and I talked about it before while you were having your cake. And so anyways, yeah, it's going to come here for a while. So there'll be a schedule out, and everyone will be able to access and find out where it's going. So.
And we're very proud of him. He's a Truro boy.
Yeah, Brett's a Truro,
so
local boy, does well. Very
great.
good. We're
So
proud of him.
thrilled.
Sure.
And the
Thanks.
date on that again is?
The 24th and 25th of April, Friday and Saturday.
Okay, sounds good. All right, up next, Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I guess they're both for Oliver. The first one would be the ponds at the Argus ball field. With the rain, they really fill up, and I was quite amazed at the volume of water that was down there. So I guess my question would be, is the infilling going to completely solve that problem?
Yeah, what you're seeing right now, so at the end of the season before Christmas when they had to pack up just due to weather. Just prior to that, the area was surveyed just to see where the elevations were relative to what was desired for the end result and what's there now. Part of the areas were, we'll say, slightly overfilled with other areas underfilled. So what you're seeing are different as far as water ponding, and maybe that's being, making it mild. Are areas where the overfill is existing. That's going to be scraped off, graded to infill the remaining areas that you're seeing some water building up at. So there is still some work with that. There will be some importing of materials still to be done coming this spring, just to finish that off. And then again, there's still a rock line ditch to be installed. There's still the topsoil and hydroseeding of the larger area there behind the outfield. So there's still some work to be done.
Okay, thank you. And my second one would be, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and you might want some time to think about this, but
Brace myself?
yeah, I'm getting some calls in terms of speeding, and I guess my question was, do you consider traffic signs appropriate traffic calming solutions?
Well, it has to be part of the solution. I'm not going to speak for Chief McNeil beside me here, but in part, whatever, it's a combination of, we'll say, advertising, speed signs, and enforcement.
Excuse me, I don't know if I said the right thing. I'll talk where I'm getting the most calls, Smith Avenue. They're pushing for stop signs, and they see that as traffic calming. I know your predecessor didn't agree with that. He didn't see that as...
No, that can cause more harm than good in some instances, whereby you're just encouraging more stopping and starting, introducing frustration, which may even create an increased safety issue or whatever in itself. We'll call it an unintended consequence. So no, I mean, I don't think that's appropriate for in that area, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Graham?
My question, I'm not sure if it's best suited to the mayor or our CAO. It's regarding the rec center, and our council passed the motion that allowed the setup of an all-council board. It was also the feeling around the table at the time that we supported the idea of eventually having citizen reps on a board. I'm just wondering what steps need to happen, or what needs to be achieved to allow citizen representation on that board. Is there a plan in place? What are we looking at? Is it a time thing? Is it an achievement thing that needs to happen? Like, what needs to happen in order for us to be able to facilitate having citizens reintroduced to the board?
I mentioned that earlier. Right now, as you know, we did approve, we wanted our council. At this point in time, where we're starting out, I will take that again to the board. They know that our council wanted that.
Okay.
And right now, we've got so many issues that we're trying to deal with. That is something that, we want to do, but right now, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Because we've got major issues out there that we're trying to go through right now to get that facility in top shape. And we need events brought to the rec to keep us sustainable and to move forward, and we need that. We want good quality events coming. So it's on the forefront, but we have to get through some of these obstacles first, but it's there. We're working towards that. And then, of course, the county has to agree with it because we are a joint owner. And so that's where we're at. Our council voted for it. We'll see where we go from here.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're back to Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I just have a couple of things. One is to encourage Mr. Browning, when it comes to the lights at Walker and Queen, I don't think we should be making it any more difficult to navigate to getting into the Bible Hill than it already is. And I think it's a bit of a slug getting through there, and I'd hate to see it made more difficult. That's just my suggestion. When it comes to the bylaw violations, in Mr. Fox's report, there was 2 complaints from Thomas Avenue with people feeding deer, and I see they've been resolved. And they were resolved by issues, were warning issues. These people were written up and given a warning. And my understanding is that this has already happened. Now, it might be incorrect, but according to the complainants, which I encouraged, they called me and I encouraged them to put it on the complaint line, at the town website, and they did. They had informed me that these people have been warned in the past. And so I see another warning given and then it's resolved as questionable as to whether it is actually resolved. So this is an issue, I think, and feeding deer is not helping, and we all know that. And I'm not happy with it, just issuing them another warning. You know, I'm a little frustrated by the fact that we have to have a video camera or something taken of them, and I'm just wondering, what is the procedure? If we have two witnesses, two different property owners that have witnessed someone feeding deer on their property, actually, you know, purposely putting out food for deer, is that not sufficient to bring a charge?
Well, you're asking a planner a legal question, so.
Well, I'm asking anybody,
Yeah.
Mr. Fox.
I don't know the specifics. I guess maybe. Yeah, without knowing the specifics of who saw what and what evidence there is, I can't comment.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
the challenge is on this one, obviously, the bylaw officer, you know, has a certain amount of discretion. And again, it's difficult for us to say that a warning or a summary offense ticket should have been issued. That would be similar to, you know, a police officer, that's the call they have to make at the time. So I would assume that, you know, as you indicated, Deputy Mayor, if this were to occur again, he's issued a warning now. If it would get a further complaint, then obviously he would escalate it, but I can only assume he's issued the warning now, and he obviously didn't see a reason to issue an SOT at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked the opportunity to a little advance notice on the question. I could have provided more background on it. I'm not, again, like, I don't know the particulars of it. I do believe the issue with deer, with feeding of wild animals is that it's fine to witness it, but you have to prove that it's a nuisance. So that usually is the challenge. And oftentimes the complainants aren't willing to actually, you know, follow through on the complaint and you know, testify if need be. So it's fine to say that they complained and they did nothing happen, but if the bylaw officer went out, attended the site, they can't prove that it was a nuisance. Like just seeing someone feeding the deer, that's not enough. We actually have to prove that it was some sort of nuisance to them and their property and damage to other property. That's my understanding. But again, I would have appreciated if you would just give me a little heads up. I could have given you some more details on the specifics because I'm not familiar with every case.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. Fair comment. You know, in this particular case, one of the complainants said that a deer had actually kind of charged them, and when they got out of their car. So you know, there is concern on that street regarding deer, and deer being aggressive, and so yeah, I'll follow up and I'll call the two complainants back and have a discussion with them and encourage them if it continues. Another
Deputy Mayor,
complaint.
it might be more appropriate if there is, if the deer are being aggressive. I think that the DNR is ultimately responsible for the wildlife. They repeatedly tell us that it's their animals, their deer, they're responsible for them, and we have to coordinate anything we do with the deer through them. So I would say aggressive deer is probably a DNR concern primarily.
Okay, well, I'm sure they told me that they were going to put that in their report that they submitted as part of their complaint. So I didn't see the submission, so. You know, I'm just bringing the concern forward, but I will call them and respond back to them and find out, you know, what they put in the complaint and where we're at with this thing, because, you know, it's a problem for the residents on Thomas Avenue, and it's being ongoing. And so, you know, just, I find it a little frustrating, you know, issuing these people a warning or the person a warning and saying, well, it's resolved, because it's not resolved. I guess the word resolved kind of got in my crow there, because it's not resolved. Mm-hmm. It is not resolved.
Yeah, the one successful prosecution we've had is, and to Mr. Fox's point, when the bylaw officer went up, the yards in the area had been trampled. Clearly a nuisance, because again, the individual that was issued the SOT had barrels of apples in their backyard, and there was a lot of property damage that was created. Easy to prove a nuisance had been created. And that's the issue. It does quite clearly read it has to be a nuisance. So you can feed birds, for example, but when in feeding those birds, if it causes, you know, excessive droppings and things like that for your neighbors, that's an offense. You know, and again, that's kind of the determination that the bylaw officer has to make.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I had a deer removed from my property. He was dead. Must have been hit by a car and came home to die, since I lived there. And then had the opposite situation happen. I'd got out of my car and I had a bouquet of flowers that been given. And my deer are so tame, apparently, that it came over and started to eat the flowers out of the bouquet when I was looking for my keys in my pocket. God's truth, true. So but it is problematic. So and please, again, I've said it a million times in 10 years, please, you're not helping the deer, even if you like them, to feed them. Deer should not be eating pizza and, food. It's just not, it's not good. And and it's not a good thing. So please do not feed the deer. I mean, I know people love them, but you cannot feed them. Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on the deer and the bylaw, I know the current bylaw does say, that it has to be, no feeding, no person shall feed one or more wild animals in any place in such a manner or to such an extent that doing so causes or may cause an unreasonable interference with another person's use and enjoyment of his or her property or of a public place. And we've talked about that before, that if we just said a blanket no feeding, well, then that opens up a can of worms, I guess, regarding, say feeding birds. You wouldn't be allowed to have bird feeders. You wouldn't be allowed to do this. But I guess, Madam Mayor, perhaps a question for our council, legal counsel, can we make an exception for deer? That we can say, feeding to an extent that it may cause an unreasonable extent. If somebody is feeding, ends up turning their yard into an Alfred Hitchcock movie with all the birds that are around, that's an unreasonable thing. But could we put in a blanket ban on just no feeding of the deer? Because you're right, it does not help the deer at all. It makes them tame, it gets them used to humans, and then they do become a danger.
I think we could certainly look at that bylaw and look at ways to update it and tighten it up. I don't have any sort of preconceived solutions in my head at the moment, but if council wanted me and staff to take a look at that bylaw and come back with some recommendations or suggestions, I mean, we can do that.
Well, I just know that we do have a bylaw review in progress. Maybe now would be the time to look at something like that. And, Madam Mayor, if a motion is required, if council is in agreement, I think that there is an appetite there to have that looked at, because the deer, this topic comes up pretty much every council meeting about the feeding of the deer, the bylaws, and that it doesn't have any teeth. So in order to direct staff, I see Mr. Dolter making some notes, but I would make the motion, Madam Mayor, if I could, that staff review the feeding of wild birds and animals bylaw in order to tighten restrictions against feeding the deer.
Okay. All right, so Councillor McGrath has made a motion. I'll second. You're going to second it, Councillor Graham. All those, a discussion on this motion of feeding the deer and wild animals. Any discussion? Councillor Talbot.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what enforcement mechanism we have in place, because it's my understanding that the one person that we tried to charge, and she had bucks of apples as well, we couldn't collect the money. Yeah. So I'm just wondering.
That's correct, because it was not attached to something provincial, like if you went to renew your car license. If we had something that was tangible and attached to that, then that person wouldn't be able to renew their license. But because there's really no teeth in it, that's problematic. So, I mean, I do agree that I think something needs to be done. This is an issue for, this has been going on as long as we've been on council as far as the deer goes. And I can only speak for my own herd, that mine are so tame. I mean, I could set the clock when they're watching Jeopardy through the window at 8:30 and they literally greet me when I get out of the car. That's what's happened, because my backyard's like a park and I live close to the park. So, I mean, I think we have to do something. And I think the problem is when people are feeding them and they know the neighbors know they're feeding them, they don't want to be bad neighbors and they don't want to report their neighbor. But I think, is this not the case that we have to physically see somebody feeding the deer to report it? Even though we know that, you know who's feeding the deer, because they're very time sensitive and they go to these places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I think that's the issue.
Yeah, and I'm supportive, but if it doesn't have teeth,
Yeah.
There's no sense of doing it. That's my point.
Yeah, the only thing we have at our disposal at this point is the summary fence ticket, and it has its limitations. So that is the challenge. I mean, we can, to Councillor McGrath's point, we can change the bylaws so that you can't feed the deer. It doesn't change our ability to what the punitive measure is, what the fine is, and how we can enforce that. I mean, it makes a statement certainly, but again, we may end up with quite a few SOTs out there that, and we'll go to court and we'll get the judgment and see where it goes from there.
Well, I think the motion, at least the motion's been made, it's been seconded, so I think we can move forward on that.
Yeah,
And-
well,
and-
would an amendment be required, Madam Mayor, in order to address Mr. Dolter's point? Is there something that we can look at for greater enforcement and greater teeth? Because I agree with Councillor Talbot that, if there is a way to tighten that up as well, then I think that should be addressed.
Yeah, maybe the chief can speak to that on ticket.
We went through a process a number of years ago to get our parking tickets tied into the province. It's a real lengthy process, and it's all up to the province to determine what types of charges and acts are applicable. So we could, Tracy, my admin assistant, probably get the contact info from the person we dealt with at the province, but it was strictly around parking tickets. So I don't know if this type of a bylaw ticket would tie into a driver's license or not, but the parking tickets do, because we were having the same problem you just discussed. We were issuing parking tickets, you don't pay them, there's nothing that can happen. So that's been changed a number of years ago, but it is quite a process, and you have to apply to the province. So it's not as easy as just changing the bylaw and being able to do it ourselves.
So if I could suggest council's meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs on Wednesday afternoon, this is property related within the municipality, might be an initial issue to raise with him there, and it probably would have to get tied into justice after that, but it might be initial discussion with the minister on that.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, just as one, can it be tied into property taxes?
Yeah.
Not at this point in time, no, we can't.
Well, it's, because I was just asking that because automobiles and then, this is dealing with a property. So, maybe that's the kind of discussion we could have with the minister or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Councillor McGrath, if I may, I'm just wondering if maybe it's more advantageous if we wait till we have our meeting with the minister on Wednesday for any input he may have, and then would you be prepared to bring that motion up at the next meeting after we talk to him and if he can give us a little guidance? Would you be prepared to do that?
I could do that if needed, Madam Mayor, though I think that passing the motion today gives staff some ability to ask questions of the minister on Wednesday, if at all possible, and it gives us more, the more information we get sooner with the motion, I think it just benefits everyone.
So with the discussion we've just had, do you want to make that motion with the?
I would like to proceed with the motion, yes.
Please, okay. So the motion has been made, it's been seconded. All in favor of supporting Councillor McGrath's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
There.
Motion has been passed unanimously. Thank you, Councillor McGrath. We're now moving on to item 8, new business. As we know, March has been a very busy month with budget meetings and involving council, our CIO, and directors. And so now here we are. This is the time of the year we present our budget, as I like to call it, the big show. Director Russell and CIO Mike Dolter are going to do this, and I think we're going to begin with the, are you going first, Mr.?
I am going to kick it off.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to
Take it away.
We're going to start with just a recap of the previous year. So, excuse me. So, Mayor Hinton, council, staff, and guests, today Ms. Russell and I will present to you and our residents the draft general operating budget and general capital budget for 26-27, along with the draft water operating and capital budgets. These budgets are presented for your consideration and approval. Before reviewing this year's budget, I'll take a moment to recap our 2025-26 fiscal year. So we started 25-26 off with publishing the town strategic plan. This plan guides the work we do on a day-to-day basis and is what shapes the direction of our investments within the community. 2025 marked Truro's 150th anniversary of incorporation. We celebrated this milestone in part by honoring individuals whose contributions for too long had gone unnoticed. These included tributes made by renaming the former tack grounds as the number 2 Construction Battalion athletic facility, ensuring the battalion's historic legacy is acknowledged and prominently and permanently. Naming our fire hall the George Jones Memorial Fire Station celebrated a community builder whose early leadership in forming Truro's first fire brigade created the foundation, bucket brigade created the foundation for the Truro Fire Service. Other events were held throughout the year to foster community connections. Events such as the Mayor and Council Soup Lunch, heritage walking tours with the Colchester Historium, and cupcakes at the Hub were all events that took place during that period. The road preservation tax has allowed the town to consider cost-effective road rehabilitation before conditions deteriorate to a point of requiring costly reconstruction. The road preservation tax for 2025-2026 has allowed the town to preserve sections of such streets as Willow Street, Prince Street, George Street, Martha Avenue, and Duke Street. In addition to streets previously mentioned, work began in 2025 on the $1.8 million recapitalization of Cobequid Drive. This project included the replacement of aging sanitary sewer mains, the installation of new storm sewer infrastructure to reduce pressure on existing systems, and new concrete curb and full street reconstruction. Due to the early winter, construction will be completed in spring 2026. The Tack Grounds Revitalization Project is nearing completion after continued development since 2023. This project involved redeveloping the grounds on Gulf Street, the baseball field, and placing a baseball field on Argus Drive. Both locations are substantially complete, with a few small items left to finish in 2026. Both facilities are valued assets for the town. In 2022, the town received almost $1.5 million from the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program to help fund the project. Additional support came from strong community fundraising, the town of Truro, and the municipality of Colchester. The facilities are operational, and we're looking forward to celebrating the grand openings in the coming months. The Rail Yard Mountain Bike Park is now home to an exciting new Velo Solutions pump track. More than just a track, it's a playground and training ground for bikers, skateboarders, and scooter riders of all skill levels. Construction was completed in 2025, but some finishing touches, including the painting of lines and directional arrows, are planned for the spring. Once it's completed, it'll be open to the public. The project was made possible with the support of the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. These are just a few of the accomplishments the town had in 2025, and I encourage everyone to take a look at the recently published Year in Review, which is now available on our website. This publication has a more detailed review of our achievements in the past year. Now I'll hand it off to Ms. Russell, and she'll take us through the 25-26 budgets.
Thank you, Mr. Dolter. In recent years, the town has undertaken an ambitious capital program, and we are now beginning to see the results of the investment take shape. Major projects such as the stadium rebuild, the McClure's Mills Roundabout, and the Tack Grounds revitalization required significant staff effort and financial resources. These projects are now delivering tangible benefits and have added modern, high-quality infrastructure and long-term value to the town's balance sheet. The town continues to invest strategically to support a high quality of life for residents and to ensure Truro remains a great place to live and work. For 26-27, the proposed capital budget is $8.68 million, supported in part by approximately $2.94 million in provincial and federal grants, donations, and other funding sources. The capital budget includes several projects approved in prior years that are nearing completion, including the Cobequid Drive upgrades and the Argus Drive Ballfield Pond infill, where early winter conditions delayed completion into the spring. The Jamie Shepherd Memorial Playground is also expected to be installed this spring, with a significant portion of its costs offset through provincial funding. This year's budget also places a strong focus on reinvesting in existing facilities, including accessibility improvements supported by provincial grants. The capital budget includes a necessary reinvestment in the town's vehicle and equipment fleet, addressing aging assets that are beyond their expected useful life. Planned replacements include a fire rescue truck, 2 salt trucks, a backhoe, a sidewalk plow, and a Zamboni for the stadium. This budget also includes $400,000 towards the replacement of the multi-stack unit at the Rath Eastlink Community Center in conjunction with the County of Colchester. Lastly, investment in roads remains a priority. Road preservation tax revenues are used specifically to resurface streets currently in fair condition, preventing further deterioration. Using a condition-based ranking system, the streets identified for resurfacing this year will cost approximately $678,000, with an additional $1.1 million planned for street recapitalization. The streets initially identified for road preservation tax spending for this upcoming year are sections of Laurie Street, which will go from Alice Street to Higgins Street, Beechwood Drive from Pleasant Street to West End, Moore Street, Joyce Avenue, Sunset Court, and Hayward Court. This listing is subject to change as we start to identify how the winter conditions have affected our roads. Madam Mayor, I'm now moving on to the 26-27 operating budget. The proposed budget for 26-27 is $43.3 million, which represents an 8.8% increase over the 25-26 budget. Council and senior staff work closely throughout the budget process to balance rising costs with the goal of maintaining existing service levels. While municipalities are different from private businesses, we face many of the same pressures, most notably cost inflation. As a result, our focus this year was on essential needs, delaying or deferring new spending wherever feasible, while protecting the services residents rely on. The town's largest expense is wages and benefits, which reflect commitments under existing collective agreements. These increases are not discretionary and are necessary to maintain a stable, skilled workforce that delivers municipal services every day. We also took a more informed and deliberate approach to what is being transferred to reserves or to our savings accounts, which is approximately $1.4 million higher than last year. This reflects the need to replenish reserves following several years of significant capital investment. By reviewing our capital needs over a 5-year horizon, looking at known infrastructure requirements and asset replacement timelines, staff were better able to identify future funding needs. That long-term analysis supports the decisions to strengthen reserves today, helping to ensure financial sustainability in the years ahead. This slide shows how every $100 of municipal revenue is spent, and it's a helpful way to connect the budget back to the services residents rely on every day. Approximately $22 goes to engineering and public works, which includes roads, sidewalks, snow removal, and maintaining core infrastructure. These are some of the most visible and heavily used services in the community. Protective services represents a significant investment of $26 out of the 100. Approximately $17 supports police protection, and nearly $9 supports fire protection, ensuring emergency response services are available around the clock. Smaller amounts also support emergency measures and animal control. Parks, Recreation, and Culture accounts for about $13, supporting facilities, programs, trails, and community events that contribute to the quality of life in Truro. About $8 of every 100 is transferred to the province for schools, and nearly $8 is set aside in reserves to help fund future infrastructure needs and asset replacement. Approximately $5 goes towards debt servicing, reflecting past capital investments. Finally, the remaining dollars support governance and administration, including council, general administration, corporate services, planning and development, and the Downtown Truro Partnership. These functions ensure the town operates effectively, remains compliant, and continues to support growth and economic development. Overall, this breakdown helps illustrate that municipal spending is focused on essential services, public safety, infrastructure, and long-term financial sustainability. This slide shows the expenses by department compared to the prior year's budget. These details will be posted to the town's website once the budget is approved. The town recognizes the high cost of living our residents are facing and remains mindful of the need to limit additional financial pressure on taxpayers, even as we experience inflationary pressures ourselves. As part of this budget, we are not recommending any changes to the residential, commercial, sewer, or detransfer tax rates. We are, however, recommending a minor administrative adjustment to the road preservation tax to round the rate to the nearest cent. This results in a slight decrease for residential taxpayers and a slight increase for the commercial tax base. The town is required to present a balanced budget. To do this, municipal revenue has to increase by the same amount as the expenses, resulting in an increase of approximately $3.5 million. The increase in revenue is driven by assessment changes and growth, not through tax increases, not through rate increases. On the residential side, about $1.6 million of the increase comes from assessment activity. This is largely attributable to properties that were not subject to the provincial assessment cap, which typically occurs when a property is bought or sold and reassessed at current market value. These properties represent approximately 16% of residential properties in the town. New residential development has also contributed to the tax base, adding approximately $472,000 in additional revenue. At the same time, the majority of residential properties, about 81%, remain capped, with assessment increases limited to a maximum of 2.6%. The combined impact of those capped increases amounts to approximately $256,000 across the town, reflecting modest and predictable growth. On the commercial side, revenue increased by approximately $1.3 million, again without any change to the tax rate. This increase is driven primarily by the reassessment of 6 large commercial properties following sales during the year. The increase in revenue is driven by assessment changes, property turnover, and new development, not tax rate increases, and helps the town maintain services while managing rising costs. This slide shows the various sources of revenue and budgeted amounts compared to prior year's budget. This slide highlights key financial indicators that help council and the public understand the town's overall financial health. Starting with debt, the town will end the 26-27 year with an outstanding balance of approximately $13.7 million. No new debt is proposed in this budget, and our debt servicing ratio is 6%, which is well below the province's recommended guideline of 10%. This indicates that the town's current debt levels are manageable and sustainable. The other metric we watch is combined reserves. The town is projected to end the year with approximately $7.4 million, representing 15.8% of operating expenditures. The province provides reserve benchmarks as a general risk assessment tool, suggesting higher reserve levels for municipalities seeking greater financial flexibility. Based strictly on those guidelines, our current reserve position would be classified as a higher risk. It is important to note that these benchmarks are guidance tools, and staff assess them alongside local circumstances. Based on Truro's size, historic experience, access to financing, and capital planning practices, staff believe that a reserve balance of approximately $10 million is an appropriate long-term target. While we have made progress in strengthening longer-term financial planning, there is still work to be done, particularly in refining our revenue forecasting. That work is ongoing and will continue to inform future decisions. Following several years of significant capital investment, this budget represents a measured and deliberate step towards rebuilding reserves while balancing affordability and long-term financial sustainability. Moving on to the water utility budget. Water rates are regulated by the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board, and there are no rate changes budgeted for 2026-27. Water rates have not changed since 2015. The operating budget totals $5,343,000, which represents 7.1% increase over prior year's budget. A rate study will be initiated in 26-27 fiscal year because the current rates are not sufficient to cover the annual operating expenses. This year's capital budget is $958,000 and is primarily focused on equipment upgrades, and many of those costs will be offset in part by provincial funding. This brings me to the end of the presentation. I'll pass it back to Mr. Dolter to read the request for decision and tax resolution.
So, thank you, Ms. Russell. So I'm just going to go through a request for decision. Once I do that, I will go through the tax resolutions for the 26-27 fiscal year, and we'll vote on each of those separately. So again, we'll go through the process. It does take, just bear with me on that. So for the 26-27 budget approval and tax resolutions, so the town of Truro completed and presented a draft budget for 2026-2027 for council's approval. This includes the general and water operating budgets as well as the general and water capital budgets. Sorry, that's general operating budgets and as well as the general operating budgets for the town as well as the general and water capital budgets. Sorry. The proposed motion is, be it resolved, the council approve the 2026-2027 town budget, including general operating budget of $43,359,637 and the capital budget of $8,680,231 and the water operating budget of $5,343,654 and the water capital budget of $958,000. Madam Mayor, that is the proposed motion.
Okay. So I need a mover. Councillor Fleming, seconder, Councillor McGrath. Discussion? Councillor Graham?
I just have one quick question for clarification, and it's regarding the, I think it was 12.9% of the $100 bill that we transfer to the province for education. Was it 12.9? I don't have it in front of me.
$12.99. No.
No, I think $8.54.
$8.54, thank you. My question was, I recall that the transfer was to cover not only healthcare, or not only education, but healthcare and a percentage to our prisons. Has there been a change in legislation that I may have forgotten about?
Yes, there has been. So in the previous, I believe it is the previous, or both the requirements for prisons and for it wasn't healthcare, it was actually housing, municipal housing was dropped. Prior to that, we made direct contributions. So that was an amendment made as part of the negotiations on service exchange.
Okay.
So those were dropped. What does remain is the school amounts, and those are subject to assessment increases. So every time our assessment goes up, our allocation to schools actually goes up. So that amount actually increased significantly this year as well.
Is there a line that tells us what that amount is? If you don't have it readily available, it's okay.
It's
3.7 million in the budget.
3.7.
It was 3.5 last year.
Thank you.
Director Russell, that road preservation tax from 0.525 cents to 0.5 cents, do you know what that works out to per household?
I don't have that with me, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
My apologies for not asking that earlier, but thank you. Councillor Fleming?
Thank you, Mayor Hinton. Through you to Director Russell and her staff, thanks so much for the great work you did preparing this budget. And I found this year's budget meetings that we had, the information that was provided by Ms. Russell and her staff are excellent in answering any questions that we had. And I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for agreeing, not only with me, but I know you agreed to keep the rates, to keep the tax rate the way it is. And yeah, no, it was, I can say this is probably one of the best budgets, well, it is the best budget deliberations that I've been involved with during my time on council. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Fleming, and I want to echo the hard work that you've put into this, and very much appreciated by all the directors and by yourself. It's not easy, trust me. all of us in a room together fighting over money. It's not the best, but it was very well, very respectfully done. I appreciate that. Okay, so we have a mover and we have a seconder. A motion has been made. All those in favor of the motion for the request for decision of the approval of the 2026-2027 operating and capital budget and tax resolution, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded?
Aye.
Councillor Prime, I'm going to need to see your face before you vote, just for...
There she is. I see her over there.
Okay.
So I just need clarity. So Councillor Pryor, you're voting in favor?
Councillor Pryor?
Yes, I'm sorry,
Yes. No worries.
my mic's off.
You're supporting the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. So all in favor of approved except one nay, Deputy Mayor is the nay. So this motion has been approved. Thank you very much. Mr. Dolter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I will now read the tax resolutions for 26-27, and I think it's fitting that I will read them all individually and they vote individually because, again, there is the opportunity if anybody did reject any particular motion that they could do so. So just bear with me. So the tax rate for 26-27, be resolved that the estimated expenditure for the town of Truro for the period of 1st of April 2026 to the March 31st, 2027 be approved and adopted in the amount of $43,359,637.
Looking for a motion. Councillor Fleming, seconder, Councillor Talbot. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Deputy Thomas is contrary minded. Councillor Pryor, nay or yea, in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So next, residential rate of $1.08.
Motion is approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Residential rate at $1.85 per $100 of assessment. Therefore be resolved, the council authorizes the levy and collection of a rate for the current year of $1.85 per $100 of assessment for residential and resource property, that rate being hereafter called the residential rate.
Thank you. Looking for a mover. Councillor Talbot, seconder, Councillor Graham. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Deputy Mayor is a nay. Motion is carried. Mr. Dolter?
Commercial rate, be it further resolved that council authorizes the levying and collection of a rate for the current year of $4.50 per $100 of assessment for commercial property, that rate being hereafter referred to as the commercial rate.
Looking for a mover. Councillor McGrath, seconder, Councillor Graham. All those in favor? Discussion, I should say. Sorry. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
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 Contrary minded? No contrary minded? Okay. Motion's approved. Mr. Dolter.
The road preservation tax residential rate, be it further resolved that council authorize the levying collection of a rate for the current year of 5 cents per $100 of assessment of residential property, that rate being hereafter referred to as the residential road preservation rate.
Thank you. Looking for someone to make the motion. So moved. Councillor Fleming, seconded Councillor McGrath. All those in favor? Oh, yes, discussion, sorry. I've got so many motions here. Discussion? Seeing none. Councillor Pryor? Yay or nay?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Yay.
All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Unanimously approved. Motion is carried. Mr. Dolter?
Road preservation tax commercial rate. Be it further resolved that council authorize the levy and collection of a rate for the current year of 5 cents per $100 of assessed assessment of commercial property, that rate being hereafter referred to as the commercial road preservation rate.
Thank you. Motion, Councillor McGrath, seconder, Councillor Talbot. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Yay.
Nay?
Yay.
Yay.
Yes, I hear your yay. I got- is there any nay? No, unanimously approved. Motion is carried. Mr. Dolter, next.
Yes, establishing of the sewer rate. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the levying and collection of a rate for the current year of 85 cents per cubic meter of water consumed under 1,250 cubic meters on a quarterly billing, and 22 cents per cubic meter for water consumed over 1,250 cubic meters on a quarterly billing of the current for the current year. That rate being called the sewer rate.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor McGrath, Councillor Fleming seconds this. Discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is passed unanimously. Mr. Dolter.
Solid waste uniform charge. Be it further resolved that council authorize the levying collection of a solid waste uniform charge of $50 per residential dwelling unit be applied as a solid waste charge for all dwelling units of 3 units or less.
Looking for a motion. Councillor McGrath, seconder. Councillor Graham. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor, that was you're in favor? Yes? Okay. That motion has been passed unanimously. Oh, Councillor Graham?
It doesn't change my vote, but are we seeing an increase in the ability to collect that waste? Do you know? If not, it's all right.
I'm sure I understand.
Yeah.
Well, we collect waste from 3 or less and charge $50.
Yep.
And I know that rate has been in place for a couple of years now. Have we seen an increase in the cost for us to be able to collect it?
It's part of the tax bill. It's on the tax bill, right? So it's collected as far as that goes.
Pardon? Yes,
Oh,
Cost of collecting the waste, has it increased?
yes.
Intuitively, I could say yes. Quantitatively, I can't give you a number, but just like everything else, there's something associated with that. It's nothing that that's raised a flag with us.
No. So maybe next year we might need to look at that one, but we can carry on. I just thought of it as an afterthought, that rate has been in place for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was never meant to cover the cost. It was just a flat tax.
yes.
So
It's offset.
it doesn't matter how many bags you put out. Every resident with less than 3 units pays a flat tax. Every property with less than 3 units.
Yeah.
Correct. Pays a flat tax of $50.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dolter.
Yep. So the next one is, we did pass that, I do believe. Yes, we did vote. Okay, yep, sorry. Be it further resolved that the payment of rates and taxes set down for 2026-27 as accepted and approved by council shall be required to be made to the treasurer on or before the 31st day of October 2026.
Looking for a mover? Councillor McGrath, Councillor Fleming seconds it. Discussion? Seeing none, the vote. All in favor? Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
The motion is passed unanimously. Mr. Dolter.
The tax rate. An additional charge of a rate of 15% per annum shall be and is hereby imposed for non-payment of such rates and taxes by the 30th of June 2026 on the interim tax bill, and at the same rate for non-payment of such rates and taxes on the 31st day of October 2026 on the final billing, such interest to be added monthly after the due dates above.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor McGrath, second by Councillor Fleming. Discussion? Seeing none? Vote. All in favor? Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
The motion has been passed unanimously.
So and the last one is the downtown Truro partnership rate. Further be it resolved that council approve the downtown Truro Partnership budget and area rate of 42 cents per $100 of commercial assessment to a maximum of $2 million in the designated area.
Thank you. Looking for a motion? Councillor McGrath, Councillor Fleming has seconded. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Motion has been passed unanimously.
And that ends those resolutions for those tax resolutions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. So the 2026-27 operating and capital budget and tax resolutions are approved. The good news is no increase in residential and commercial taxes. That's very, very good news. I hope that's shared by other municipalities throughout the province. We're now moving on to item 8B, and that's the request for decision for the flyby request. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Canadian Air Division has made its annual request for approval for the low-level fly past by the Canadian Armed Forces F-18s on the 15th of August 2026 at approximately 2:30 to 3 p.m. as part of the Highway for Heroes tribute. This event will be arriving in Truro at approximately 2:10 p.m. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is be it resolved that the Canadian Air Division be permitted to perform a low-level fly past over the town of Truro on August 15th, 2026. And I will say we will promote this on social media because I think people weren't expecting it a couple times, and when the fighters went over, they were concerned. So, again, we will make sure that goes out on social media.
Excellent. I'm calling for a motion now. Councillor McGrath and the seconder, Councillor Fleming. Any discussion on this, Council? Seeing none. Hearing none. Anything from you, Councillor Pryor? All good?
All good.
Okay. That motion has been passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Dolter.
We didn't vote, we didn't actually vote yet.
Oh, did we not vote? Oh, I'm just so excited about no tax increase. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimously
Aye.
passed. Thank you very much. Item 8C is to set a public hearing date for 219 Queen Street. Mr. Dolter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a development agreement application from WM Fair's Arkham Developments to amend an existing development agreement at PIDS 2048-6288, 2019-6804, 2048-627, and 20335337 to convert a vacant ground floor commercial space in an existing mixed-use building at 219 Queen Street, and that's PID 2048-6288, into a two residential dwelling units. So, Madam Mayor, the proposed motion is, be it resolved, the council set a public hearing date for May 4th, 2026 to consider the amendment to the existing development agreement with Arkham Developments Limited to convert the vacant ground floor commercial space in the existing mixed-use building at 219 Queen Street, only one PID number this time, 2048-6288, into a two-unit residential dwelling unit.
Thank you. I'll call for a motion. Councillor McGrath, and seconded by Councillor Graham. Any discussion on this? Councillor McGrath?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I stand, just as a point of information, I stand to be corrected by Director Fox if I get some of this wrong, but from our discussions at Planning Advisory Committee, what I understand this development agreement will do is give them the option to either convert to residential or to keep it as commercial and flip it back and forth as needed, whether or not that impacts people's vote today.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Councillor Pryor?
Aye.
Motion is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Council, the budget's been passed and our new fiscal year begins, and we are at the end of our public council meeting. I want to thank those in attendance today in the chamber and our solicitor, CAO Dolter, council, and our directors, and especially Director Russell for your work on the budget. Thank you very much. We know how hard this has been. Our next public council meeting is Monday, May the 4th at 1 p.m., and I encourage anyone to join us and observe if you're able. Please continue to be kind to each other and to be kind to our town. Our Town of Truro Public Council meeting for April 13th, 2026 is adjourned at 3:33 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.